Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com for more info. Email me directly through benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcasts. People of Distinction is an internationally syndicated show solely due to the love and support that you all continue to show. We're available across all major podcast distributors, and like I mentioned, people, if you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. Now sit back and strap in because we are delighted to showcase this next guest on our network. And on the line with us today, we have the impressive Maree Alaina Graham. Now, we're going to be discussing Maree's incredible book entitled A Selection of Poems and Short Stories. Man, it's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's a whole host of other places. And right there in the title, people, you got an idea of the discussion at hand, but I promise you, an idea is all you got. This book is layered, it is intricate, it is going to be much more than meets the eye. And people, trust me when I tell you, man, it is an absolute pleasure to have Maree here on the line. From the quiet hum of nursing home hallways to the rhythmic pulse of factory floors, Maree has spent a lifetime collecting stories, and not just with her ears, man, but with her heart. All right, and as much of a cliche as that is, I really do mean it. In her book, A Selection of Poems and Short Stories, she weaves raw humanity into words, blending the wisdom of a healer, the curiosity of a global listener, and the tenderness of a great grandmother's touch. Man, trust me, people, this isn't just a book, man. It is a mosaic of lives lived, lives lost, and longed for, right? Delivered with the simplicity that disarms and really lingers long past that last verse. Sit back and strap in. This is a poetry book unlike any other that I've ever encountered. And I know once you pick up copies, once you've read through it, you're going to believe just that. And you're going to have the same assessment. So let's get it started here. Maree, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction. And thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Well, Maree, listen. It is a true pleasure to have you here, okay? We are looking forward to this discussion. Your book offers a lot, man. It is a wonderful collection of experiences that you've had and something that I think a lot of people are going to be able to gravitate towards. And you know, you said something on the pre-screening call which I thought was really beneficial. You know, when it comes to your book, this is an eclectic collection, right? I mean, there isn't just one particular message or theme that your short stories or your poetry goes into. And personally, I love that, right? I think that opens the door to making your book accessible to so many various groups of people, right? And I love it. And I'm looking forward to it. We're going to hear some of your poetry here today. We're going to learn about your story. But I know my listening audience is going to just love what you've showcased. So thank you again for being here with us. And let's start off at the foundation. First and foremost here, Maree, tell us a little bit more about yourself and your background.
Well, at this moment, I'm 80 years old. I worked very hard all my life, like so many people, and I remembered snippets of everything when I retired. And I decided to write down something that would mean something to so many people out there that are struggling with emotions and with life. And as I discussed with my publisher, this book, although I wrote it over 20 years ago, it is still relevant to today. Everything I have written way back then suits today, especially the politician poem.
Well, I'll tell you what, Maree. Unfortunately, that is not surprising to me, right? Specifically when it comes to those politicians, man. Not much is changing, right? And that's, I mean, that's happening amongst the politicians. That's happening in our world. And man, listen, we can have a long conversation just on that. I'm laughing about it now, but it really is no laughing matter. Unfortunately, it really is. Maree, listen, I'm curious to know if this book was written so long ago, and of course has so much connection still today, which, we love, okay? I'm curious, man, what inspired you to publish it, right? What inspired you to put it out for the masses now?
Well, I had a couple of unfortunate incidents with a couple of publishers until I found the right one.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got a good publisher that is not just interested in getting money from you, but is really interested in what you have written and sees the value in it, well, that sort of is like a dynamic lifter for your book.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Okay. All right, Maree. Listen, I'm following you down this rabbit hole here. Well, now, what are you hoping your readers take from it? I mean, I know you mentioned before that there are a lot of connections that can be formed here. Well, writing these poems, I'm sure these poems and these short stories, they were great for you. But what are you hoping readers take from it? I mean, what will they connect to once they pick it up?
I think what they will connect to is how they see life. I think that they will start thinking, how is my life going? I think, unfortunately, today there's not a lot of thinking going on because everything is in your face.
Mm-hmm.
But a book like this, it stirs the emotions. And I had an old lady live next door to me, at that time old, and I would read her my poem and she would cry because they moved her emotions and she saw parts of her life in my poems.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's what this book will do. It will open an emotional part of you didn't know was there. It's very cheeky, my book.
Maree, I love it. Listen, you mentioned a moment ago your neighbor. You also mentioned being in awe of the nursing home residents, right? And their life stories that they were able to share with you. Well, can you talk to us about some of those? And thinking back, what left you in awe, right? What about one of them or some of these stories really had an impact on you?
Well, I remember one lady that I spoke to. I asked her what impacted her life the most. And she went back to a time when her and her sister, they were about 8 and 10, were playing in the field, and they heard this dreadful sound, and then they saw this thing, and they started screaming, and they ran all the way home, and this loud, noisy thing was the first car they had ever seen. They thought it was a monster trying to get them. And we would laugh at it now, but I mean, I could imagine that way back then, the very first car That's a long time ago. And there were many others. There was one lady, an aeroplane went over, and I happened to just look up at it, and she said, "It's all right, dear, it's one of ours." And so a lot of these people in nursing homes are not living in the now.
Mm-hmm.
They're living in a time that gave them joy.
Maree, thank you very much for that. And listen, what a powerful statement. Because I think as we grow, I mean, don't we all do that, right? Don't we all have those moments where sometimes, you know, it's hard to live in the moment and experience what is happening, because oftentimes we get nostalgia, right? We go back to a previous time that maybe resonated a little bit differently. And I recognize that now as I've gotten older and have children, have a family of my own, that oftentimes I can see myself reflecting back on certain childhood memories or young adult experiences. And it's almost like reliving certain things, right? So I love what you're saying. I can absolutely relate, and it resonates truly so much. So thank you very much for sharing.
Well, I think that when we do that, we kind of re-energize ourselves, and we have hope. Because in today's life, there is no hope. It's like the world is in a confused state. It doesn't know what to do. And everything is so easy for us now. I mean, I can remember my grandmother having to wash clothes on a board. I mean, you would say that to a young person today, and they would have no idea what you're talking about.
Don't I know it, Maree? Don't I know it, man? No, listen, people, joking aside, honestly, this is a book you need to add to your shelf. You got to head on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Purchase your copies today. It is much more than just a stroll down memory lane. It is packed with so many wonderful stories, okay? Remember, we're here on the line with the delightful Maree Graham. Okay, we're talking about her book entitled A Selection of Poems and Short Stories. You got to pick it up and add it to your shelf today, because this is one you're not going to be able to put down. All right, trust me when I tell you that. Maree, my follow-up question that I'd like to go into now. Listen, throughout this process, either creating your poems, creating the short stories, or even seeing how years later, how they resonate with so many varying readers, what would you say was a highlight for you throughout this process, or something that maybe surprised you that you weren't anticipating before you began on it?
Well, I think Willie the Worm was a poem that I read at my granddaughter's preschool. And this was in a little country town. And me being a kind of city girl, it never occurred to me the answers that I got about Willie. I felt a little bit silly. One of the questions I asked the children was, how many of you have a garden? And of course, a lot of them grow vegetables and all sorts of things. And I spoke about Willie. I read the little stories, and the children got so excited. But one little boy, he stood up and said, well, my father collects worms for fishing. And I said, yes, but he'll never find Willie. And the kids they amazed me at their excitement that they were going to go home and look for Willie the Worm.
You know, listen, kids are they're remarkable, aren't they? I mean, and I have such an appreciation for it now, being a father myself. And listen, I know just how observant they are, how much they pick up. And I know everybody listening in right now, they're like, listen, I have the smartest kids in the world. I have the most adorable kids in the world. And I know we all say that because as supportive parents, that's kind of how we view it. And people, I tell you, mine actually are, no, I'm just playing with you now. No, man, like, they are remarkable, and they keep you young, right? I've never felt as old as I do, as I do right now, Maree. But they keep you young while aging you at the same time. Ironically, it's very interesting, you know, Maree. As we start to wind down here, you mentioned your granddaughter a second ago. Well, we're gonna pay it forward for her, but really open-ended in a sense for writers out there listening in. Your granddaughter, I want to pay it forward to her so that this is something that she can utilize as is the example, right? If she ever decided to become a writer later on when she grew up, what would be some advice you would be able to offer her about this writing experience that you've gone through so that she knows what to expect and can maybe avoid certain pitfalls?
Well, that's already happened. The oldest granddaughter is married and has 2 children and is also writing. So it was kind of just a natural flow on, I think, because when they were little, they didn't want me to read them stories out of books. The ones out of your mind, Nana. Give us the ones out of your mind. And it just, I think it just flowed down. Mm-hmm. And the oldest one, which she does write, and the youngest one is a veterinary. She looks after animals, so I think my book has affected them.
There you go. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, as they say. I love it. Maree, you've influenced them, and that's a beautiful thing, man. Continue to influence so many, but of course, especially those beautiful family members of yours. Listen, Maree, as we close now, obviously this is a book of right, as it says in the title, a collection of poems and short stories. Well, I'd be doing our listening audience a severe disservice if I didn't ask you to share one of your poems as we close out. So please, Maree, if you have one readily available, myself, my listening audience, we're all ears.
Okay. This one is called The Little Black Bear. I watched a television program about bears from around the world. Their treatment was appalling. I turned the television off and I went to bed feeling very sad. And I dreamed about a little black bear. I jumped out of bed at 2 a.m. and wrote this poem down. He sat in a cage, tube hanging out. Men in white coats and polished shoes all about. No one noticed the tear run down the snout of a frightened little black bear. If he could speak, he would say, "This is no way for man to behave. I cannot make you better." The little black bear has not long to live. As the juices of his life are taken from him, as man pats himself on the back, oceans made to sell and make money, no one seems to care as the little black bear closes his eyes. All of nature begins to cry. Something beautiful has just died.
Maree, that was beautiful. That was I really do mean that was a beautiful poem. That again, listen, I know you're talking about a bear, but Ironically enough, Maree, I can see myself in some of that. Right? And I know our listening audience, they're listening to you right now, and they can see their life journey, their process and their path that they've traveled. They can see it within that poem. And what a beautiful depiction of life. I'm curious to know, Maree, I know I said that was going to be the last question. I lied. Okay, I want to go further in this. What inspired that particular poem? Because listen, and this is what I think, this is what I love about art in general. Art is always left to interpretation. And there are a lot of different ways that people can go and interpret something like that. So I'm curious, as the creator of the poem, what inspired its creation?
I think what inspired me is, human beings really are, every one of us are important. Every one of us has an experience that can possibly help other people.
Mm-hmm.
That there's no language barrier in poetry or stories. There's an element of truth. And I think the little black bear just wanted to be loved. And I think that's what inspired me to let people know that not everybody that's dressed in fine clothes are nice.
Mm-hmm. Maree,
I don't know what else to say. I was just so emotionally moved in whatever dream I was dreaming that I had to get out and write it down before I forgot it.
Well, listen, we were moved by it as well, okay? And I think that there's so much that we're going to be able to take from it, and what a beautiful way to close out. Because people, trust me when I tell you, that is one poem. Listen, man, we've barely scratched the surface. The book is filled with them. Trust me when I tell you, Maree has spent a lifetime collecting these stories. And that is why you need to head on over and pick up copies, man. Because what it blends together is something beautiful, is something educational, and is something that we really can harness and build from. And I think that truly means the world. So, yeah, this is a book you need to add to your shelf. Once again, it's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble. Head on over there, pick up your copies, man. Type it into a search bar, and I promise you're gonna find other places as well. I'm mentioning Amazon and Barnes & Noble, but I promise you, there's a lot more that you're gonna be able to find, okay? It's on the screen, it's been there this entire time. The book is called A Selection of Poems and Short Stories. Head on over there, pick up your copies today. Maree, man, listen, this has been an absolute pleasure. Such an honor, I really do mean that. Keep up the fantastic work, and once again, thank you for being a guest through People of Distinction.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm just blown away. You're just fantastic.